Okay. Alright. So as we continue Spyro 2, I want to mention something because this is going to go on something. So, some of you are probably aware of the fact that the Ruminations have officially been canceled. For 5 years, we have been phasing out the Ruminations bit by bit for many reasons. I'm not going to go over them right now. However, that has been a slow transitionary process. A lot of people wanted the Ruminations to continue existing. So I decided to go ahead and, as a courtesy, as a kindness thing, to kind of keep doing Ruminations and then start kind of drifting into the post-stream Ruminations. And now finally we're at the point where we're just kind of officially cutting it off, right? Here's the thing. Obviously that time will then go to other things. But one of the other things that can go to is the highlight reel, because the highlight reels were kind of always intended to fill the same slot as the Ruminations. It's just the practicality of making that happen was a problem, and a problem that wasn't really solved until arguably right now. If you're watching this on YouTube, that is to say if you're watching this on the original channel and not the primary channel, then we have succeeded at successfully translating the highlight reel into the Rumination slot. So, yay! But for those of you in chat, and I'll be mentioning this periodically. Oh, I already did that. I'm mentioning this periodically as we go. There's this whole new system we've got. So what I want you to do is I want you to think about any moment you consider to be worthy of clipping. Now, I'll be discussing this a few times, but this is the important part. A lot of people think highlights or clips need to be all memes or jokes, and those people are very wrong. Memes and jokes are fine, but this is primarily an analytical show. So if we ever dig into something or discuss the behind-the-scenes something, or maybe say something that's actually worthwhile or whatever, I want you in chat to give us the clip emote. Now, if I set it up correctly, which I do believe I have, whether you are a subscriber or not, you should have access to the clip emote. It should be lore clip. And I'm hoping that someone will start trying it any second now so I can see it. But anyways, I see that. I'll be able to judge for myself, is this something worth clipping? And then I've got this whole other thing, which took, hey, there it is, it works. I've got this whole other thing, which took me way too much time this morning to set up, where I can just hit this, and we hypothetically now have a clip, a timestamp, more specifically, so I can then just pull up the VOD manually, pull out that clip, now that I have a timestamp pointing at the spot worthy of being grabbed. I'm actually going to double check right now, just to make sure that that timestamp, yep, there it is, right there. 2 minutes and 35 seconds. So, yeah, that's working. So that's the system going forward. Obviously, that's going to take a while. I'm going to be repeating this a lot. I'm going to have to come up with a really, really short version of that whole speech. But that's the new system. Hope you enjoy. So far, one of the things I've noticed is that... Let's talk level design. So, in a 2D platformer, most level design is... I mean, it's complicated as hell, but it's easy to inform, it's easy to discuss. A level is about navigating through the level in order to deal with obstacles, traps, fun, enemies, bosses, platforms, puzzles, etc. That's the level. Cool. In 3D platformers, the rules change a little bit. 3D platformers, pretty much to a T, all involve more about navigation and routing than they do about simply going from point A to point B. Very, 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 very few 3D platformers have the 2D platformer mindset. Why is this relevant? Because it completely changes how we review them from a level design perspective. So, first we have to kill the cats, obviously, because you can't kill cats in a 2D platformer. That's actually against the law. You're gonna... The reason this is so relevant is when it comes to reviewing 3D platformers, one of the more relevant data points is how much flow there is to the style and design of the level. How much does it inform itself? How much does it encourage its own pathing and routing and exploration? All those fun things. If it doesn't, then it's probably failed as a level. The reason I bring this up here specifically isn't just because it's, if you're wondering why the levels haven't been rating quite the same as, say, a Mega Man game. The other big reason is because I honestly feel like most of the Spyro levels don't do a lot when it comes to level design. It's not like they do things wrong. Very rarely do Spyro levels do things wrong, but for the most part, they're simply there. It feels like they hadn't really figured out what 3D level design was yet, probably because they hadn't. To use a direct example here, you'll notice that so far, obviously, several of the Spyro 2 levels have actually not been reviewing as well as the Spyro 1 levels. Part of this is because the Spyro 2 levels feel like they're not designed. Or at the very least, they're not designed as much or as well. Instead, it's more like, here's a bunch of stuff you can do in any order, have fun. That's neat and all, that's your sandbox, but there's nothing there design-wise. By contrast, a lot of the Spyro 1 levels had a very decent and intended flow to them. You were supposed to do this, and then go over here and get this, and then you'd see this thing over here, which led you over here, and then there'd be this thing, which would give you this idea over here, and maybe a hint of this thing over here, and so forth and so on. Flow. Like I said, big, nice, smooth flow. That's my thoughts on 3D platforming in a nutshell. 5 hours later. YouTuber has incredibly wrong opinion about Spyro. Worth it. Not worth it. I think Evo's seeing things, which is a common occurrence if you're slowly losing your mind from lack of tacos. Have you had problems with seeing things? Maybe visions of doom or gloom, doubt or despair? Remember that tacos will be able to cure you of all such ills. Tacos. They're what's good for you. What? Oh, Jesus! Wasn't ready. 100% of doctors agree. Don't take a lava bath. And eat tacos. That's creepy as hell. Yeah, we're gonna leave that immediately. So, we got any hockey fans here? Trick question. Nobody actually likes hockey. Well, the first thing they did, Evo, was they took all the dried tears of all the people who thought they liked hockey. They kind of, like, purified them and condensed them, smeared it on the walls. And the lies inherent in the tears kind of, like, acidically tore away at the rock until that's actually an indent. It's not actually painting. And so you could see it there as kind of a thing. And they different severities, different depths of lies change the color. It's fantastic. The levels also feel more condensed than before. Like, it's kind of strange. They feel more Mario 64 and less Mario Sunshine. I don't know if that's a byproduct of the remaster or not, but it doesn't matter since this is the game we're reviewing. Anybody play the original, have that vibe? The first game had a vibe to it of, well, I call it like Mario because it was. You were going out to do this big adventure and seeing these new places and how the worlds work and all that fun stuff. And that was the tone. It was the Final Fantasy III of the Spyro series. This game feels more like this happens to be another episode of some random kids cartoon. And I don't like to use that phrase because I feel like that phrase is horrifically misused. But I think in this case it's actually apt. Yeah, like the stage transitions are a perfect example of that, but even just the nature of it, or how Hunter operates, or how the levels are designed with these... Like each episode feels like... How do I explain this? It feels like each stage is a 20-second clip of an episode expanded into a stage. Or if I can explain this a different way, you know how a lot of the actual kids' cartoons games will take an episode concept and take one random joke from that episode and turn it into a whole stage? Like, if you told me there was a Spyro cartoon where there was the great war between the birds and the bugs, I would believe you, because that's exactly the vibe I get from it. Now, here's the really messed up part. All of that was done at the behest... we keep murdering people in this game? Triaxie asks, are these people transmuted gems? No, it's actually much, much worse than that. So you happen to notice how every time we kill someone, we gain one of their souls? You got that, right? Well, if we kill enough people's souls, we can activate certain magical archways. So, I'm not trying to make fun, Carwellis. It really is a truth. It really is something you get used to. It's one of the like 5 pieces of advice I tend to give people when they get into streaming. Get used to repeating yourself. Because every now and again when you get into streaming, you're going to have someone who didn't hear what you said earlier, or doesn't watch all your streams, or wasn't aware of something, or couldn't find something, or honestly just wanted one particular thing and doesn't care about actually bothering to invest themselves in your show. They just want this one little dinky little thing. So they ask about it. They don't look for it. They don't put any time or effort into actually finding it. They just say, please tell me about this. That's life. I don't know if you've ever seen this, but some of the larger streamers out there, they don't repeat themselves. Mostly because they don't actually engage with their audience. They don't care, for lack of a better way to put that. I was actually thinking about this recently. Big streamers are like Burger King. Or rather, just to put it simply, are like fast food, right? Because I know you love analogies, Evo. They're, you know what you're getting into. It can be good or bad, it kind of depends on the specific fast food you're getting. But it's always just going to be kind of not quite the same as a more custom experience with an individual, like going to a local burger joint. You go to a local burger joint, it's not going to be as, honestly, it's probably not going to be as clean. It's not going to be as corporate. It's not going to be as sanitized. You won't get the same kind of experience there because those people are just there to make some boigas and sell them. Yeah, it's a little more niche. However, in my opinion, and I know this is a roundabout way of trying to praise myself, but I don't mean it that way. In my opinion, I'd rather have the local burger joint than the Burger King. Because even though it's more expensive and it's more niche, it's kind of better in every other way, I suppose I should explain that one a little bit. So trout-flavored yogurt, it's a reference to Earthbound. The trout-flavored yogurt is actually the English translation. In Japanese, it's referring to, I believe it's strawberry-flavored... oh god, what's it called? It's the bean thing you get instead of meat. Tofu, thank you. Strawberry-flavored tofu. But either way, the point is, it's considered a very random, niche thing that only a few people like, and there's the analogy. No matter how good you are at making strawberry-flavored tofu, or trout-flavored yogurt, at the end of the day, your audience size is limited by the fact that you make trout-flavored yogurt. I came to grips with that years ago. I'm cool with that, mostly because I can afford to pay the bills. If I wanted to be big, I wouldn't be doing this. The problem is, let's say for a moment that I share with you a picture. It is a cute, adorable, fluffy kitten. And you look at that and you go, aww. Now let's say I share with you a cute, adorable, fluffy kitten, which is being, like, I don't know, treated meanly by someone.
Still after my flags, dragon?
Based on how most social media, this Twitter does this, YouTube does this, Facebook does this, you are more likely, statistically speaking, to respond more to the second, not the first. You will share it more because you need other people to see how bad this is, or how much this sucks, or how much that person sucks, or can you believe this thing happened? You will look at it more. You're more likely to actually watch the whole thing. You're more likely to give it a negative vote. You're more likely to actually comment on it. In terms of raw metric data, there is more engagement in negativity than positivity, and that's the problem. I mean, that's not even a new trend. It's the reason why newspapers started going that route decades ago. And then television, and then online. I hate to say it, but this really is nothing now. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. So that's, the other side of that is, of course, what I just shared was something really, really obvious. Most people are going to be upset about a kitten being hurt. But hang on, we can actually go another step above that in terms of engagement. All I have to do is say something like, say, The Last Jedi sucks. Or even more generically, Star Wars sucks. That's all you have to do to move up from level 2 negativity to level 3 negativity. Because now, not only will I get all the people who are like, oh, you're wrong, oh, you're stupid, yada, 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 but then some people will argue with those people. Some people look at that and share that and be like, look at all these people blowing up over this obvious clickbait. Or, look at all these morons who actually like Star Wars. Or, how dare you get upset over a random YouTube video. Or, how dare you actually like Star Wars? Why are you a child? Engagement, engagement, engagement. Why are we so evil? And I have access to nothing else. I can't get through that door. I can't get through that lava thing. So it is now impossible to notice that there's a... It's always something stupid. It's always something so stupid. Every time. Super mega hard boss? No problem. Insane section? Not a chance. Ridiculous platforming? Nuh-uh. Couldn't find out where the tiny ledge was to progress? Impossible. I can't believe I saved that, to be completely honest. Those poor golems. And then they mind control them. Why is this game so dark? There's even something inside the igloo. There's like a... There's Hunter in the igloo. Hunter, what are you doing? Oh, this controls weirdly. Also, paragliding is awesome. While we're on the subject. Like, it's really easy to go all right or all left. But not so much in the middle. And that's not even a politics joke. That's not funny. Hey, Gulp. Gulp. You, So you know how, in real life, one of the legitimate things that is a debate is how exactly to define who gets to vote? Because you can't just say everyone gets a vote, because that doesn't work that way. There do have to be limits and requirements and blah, blah, blah. And you have to make sure that the people who are voting need to vote right, and there's this whole thing about it, right? So when I take over the world, it's going to be an extremely simple metric to allow you to vote in an election. All you have to do is pass a test proving that you watched the LTTP theater. Otherwise, today we discuss philosophy. Why do people enjoy escort games? Is it just the darkness in their hearts that drives them? Or are they just born with a heart full of escort quests? Don't you dare double back, I swear to God. This is the dumbest goddamn path you could possibly be doing. Where'd you go? Where'd you go? Where'd he go? Oh, he's over there. Jesus Christ. Why are you stuck in rock? Why are you falling while in a rock into an acid pit? Why do you have an acid pit? Why are you flying out of the acid pit after rockifying?
Thanks for free.
Did we take drugs?
All I have to give you is this thingy I found. At least it's not a rock.
It's drugs. Why is everyone in this world a dick? God help me. I guess I'll start with goats. Second try. Not actually too terrible. You know what, that shouldn't have counted, and I'm not going to question it. Why would you then...
Here, have a souvenir from the Cloud Temple's gift shop.
Why were you selling this in the gift shop? I'm gonna agree with disasterific on them. I think that's a good term for that. For that outro, which is what I meant. Oh my god, Spyro has become pure evil. Look what's going on with Spyro's eyes. Oh god! We have given in. Stare into the darkness of his soul. So, every MMO ever made ever goes through exactly that, Venetia. That's all. That's actually literally all it is. WoW Vanilla was so big because it was Warcraft, which was huge, and it was the most user-friendly lowest barrier to entry MMO that existed at the time, in an era when MMOs were at their biggest. So, that's why WoW Vanilla exploded. As I've said several times, I called that walking into that. Now, why did it flatline? Because every MMO ever goes through that. Not everybody who sits down to play WoW really wants to stick with WoW. And that's true with every MMO. Eventually, the natural, what do they call it, filtering of the player base will just kind of gradually happen until the only people that are still there are the true fans, or the hardliners, or whatever you want to call that. Again, that's a very normal process that's been going on since Ultima Online. So what you saw in Wrath was ultimately the normalization of the player base. That is to say, how many players were actually the player base of WoW, as opposed to, oh, this is neat, or, oh, my friend's playing this. Yeah, then, so, you know what happens to games? This happens to everything, but this happens to games too. You see this? This is what happens to games. The simplest and easiest way to predict popularity in a game is for a game that is to already be popular. I like how I'm just stuck with the speed lines here. This is just my life now. Are we gonna hit a kill point at some point? Oh, developing the meta live on camera. Thank God for this button. Is that a space cow with a laser gun?
These invading sheep in their spaceships must be stopped.
What? Consumer faith is extremely important, and it actually irritates me how few companies understand that. There are some that do. Some companies go out of their way to try and be good to their customers, and be good to their employees, and be good to their IPs, specifically so that, you know, you will keep coming back, and you will keep buying the product in question. Nintendo has done bonkers, stupid things for years. Oh, I see the problem. They're offset. Look at that. No wonder I keep having issues with this. There's literally a bigger gap. But I think I could say with confidence that Nintendo has earned enough of my faith, especially as a developer, but also as a hardware producer, that I have absolutely no problem sitting down and saying, yeah, I will pre-order whatever the next Nintendo console is without hesitation. As I said earlier, and I meant this, they have already earned that pre-order from me. That's the power of customer faith right now. Right there. And I know that I'm just one individual, but I guarantee you there are quite a few other people who will buy products from X, Y, or Z on faith. Just because it's them. How many of you automatically bought a game because it was by BioWare, or Square, or Capcom, or FromSoft? Right? That's faith, right there. Or Atlas, yep. Sometimes that's broken. It's one of the... We talked about this with Mass Effect 3 and Dragon Age 2. It's one of the reasons why breaking that faith is so damaging. Because, mathematically speaking, it's not like the faith goes back to zero. If you had faith and it's broken, you go into the negatives. They gotta earn that back, you know? They have lost faith, and now they gotta push back up to here. And it's one of the reasons why people tend to have such backlash, earned and otherwise, to that kind of crap. TurboGrafx 16.
A fine piece of steering that was, Dragon. Here, take this thingamajig I found in the cow pen.
Gross. Why? Like, what? All of the why. Why would you just keep them trapped so you could release them to immediately murder them? Why is everything so evil? I didn't know he could hit himself with that. For Christ's sakes, honey. The boss is right there. Alright. Let's go ahead and figure out our score, shall we? So I've already got a whole bunch of drum rolls, so ladies and gentlemen, the final score for Spyro 2 is 7.9. That's a net positive 3 to story, which is a 66.67% ratio, which is not exactly bad, and a net 0 to gameplay, which is a 50% ratio. It is exactly as many positives as negatives. And you know, I stand by that. So obviously I didn't care for most of the minigames. A lot of the game was kind of inoffensive, really, but at the same time, a lot of it was kind of vacuous. There just was not enough of the 3D platform level design, which I've already mentioned before, present. That was present back in Spyro 1. Even really, really, really basic stuff, like, how many of you ever played Super Mario Brothers, or Sonic, or Donkey Kong Country? All three of those games have something in common. They use coins. Hang on, this is kind of loud. That's loud. They use coins, or rings, or whatever, as part of the level design. It's part of informing you of things, or inclining you toward things, or even just to literally drag your eyes to something, to drag your attention in a specific direction, because they want you to be thinking about things that are possible, or inclining you towards areas you can explore. They don't do that here. Gems are just wherever. I was noticing that as I was going through. There's no real rhyme or reason to them. They just scattered gems all over the place. So there's just not enough design there. The story certainly feels stronger from a plot axis, but I found that plot to be worse than the plot of the first game by virtue of not being all that good. Of being this weird, just like... I know we all joke that Kirby is all dark and horrible, but this game kind of has a dark and horrible plot. It was strange. Like, and it kept being played for laughs, which just made it worse. And on top of all of that, there was just... It felt like a lot of... Like people were literally just trying to throw together as many things as they could, as fast as they could. Does this make this a bad game? No. Anything above 0 is a net positive game. That's how the system works. But this is something I've mentioned before, and this is something several people in chat mentioned before. It feels like they were trying things, and it is my opinion that they didn't succeed in many ways. That's all. As before, and as I've said many times, games like this are necessary. Games like this are things that we need. We as players need, we as developers need, and we as a society need, as the industry needs. Because if people don't try things, well, then that sucks, right? Having said that, this does score much worse than Spyro 1, but Spyro 1 was a very simple game. +9 to story, +6 to gameplay, that's it. Spyro 1 won over Spyro 2 by virtue of trying less and failing less, right? Tomorrow, we're going to try out Spyro 3. That's going to be interesting. But for now, I'll see you next time.